I I see. Here comes Mark, I think.
Hey, Chris, Matthew.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. And Rebecca is on her way.
Okay,
Good you.
there she is.
Hey,
Hi there.
Rebecca.
Okay.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
How's your daughter doing?
Excellent.
That's good.
Been really
Good to
good.
hear.
Thank you for asking.
So let's see if Dave and Sharon chime in.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
And we're only doing what, the first half?
No, not even the first half, less than the first half.
Okay.
We're concentrating on the first 9 verses.
It looks like a Boston neighborhood behind you.
It could be.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of British Columbia.
Oh, really? You were there for, were you there with your wife? No.
I was there with the Navy.
Navy. Okay.
Esquimalt, I was in
Mm.
Esquimalt, I was in Victoria,
Nice.
Nanaimo.
Yeah. Is that on the island? Vancouver Island, or no, it's on next to Vancouver.
It's away from there.
Oh, okay.
You have to take a ferry to get there.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, up there you got to take a ferry almost to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, Vancouver was kind of a small town at one point, and then all these people started immigrating.
Mm-mm.
It's funny, you get people from like Newfoundland
Hmm.
that go all the way across the continent to like British Columbia because the winters are milder.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
That's pretty sick.
Yes, I would say so. A lot of Canadians are expressing their um, angst by moving out of Arizona. Apparently now, there's a lot of houses for sale.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing how many Canadians come down to America to have a sunny winter.
Yeah, when I was in Pio Pico, we used to get a lot of snowbirds.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get my stand to work.
Are you in a mobile home or in a houseboat?
Yeah, a minute. It's an earthquake. Trying to, my stand won't stay up. My phone stand
Oh,
Be like
sliding. So,
be like those people in those Star Trek episodes. You know, when they would take it on fire, they'd all go and
oh
then
yeah.
they'd go.
Ah. Yeah, I was trying to do the virtual background, but mine won't let me do it. It keeps erroring out.
Hmm.
oh, okay.
I want it to be special, but just not.
You know, the
Well, I
reason
try.
could be is maybe the picture you're selecting is not suitable.
It doesn't matter which one I pick; it still does that. It errors out.
Oh, really? Okay.
They
Oh,
offer you on
They have
the there.
default ones that are in there.
I didn't. And I'll check it out later. But you have to be in a meeting in order to change it, which is really
No,
bizarre.
you don't.
you
It said
don't?
on
You
my
have to you have to go to settings.
They said to go to apps, and then in my apps one, it says virtual background. And then
Well, what you do is you have Zoom loaded on your computer, right?
it's on my phone.
Oh, okay. Then I'm not sure
Maybe.
how to do that for your phone.
Yeah, they had two different ways of doing it, one for your desktop and one for your phone. But maybe I have to have the upgrade, They
No,
want you to pay.
I think if you go into the app itself,
Mhm. Yeah, I tried that.
that it should be able to allow you to go into settings for the app.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kept saying that I had to do it while I was in the meeting.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure
You
about
guys,
that.
you guys don't have to change yours every time, right?
No.
Just change. Okay. All right, I'll recheck it when we're down and see.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, there he is
Sorry,
from
I'm late.
Hawaii.
Hey, Sharon. I know you're hiding behind that palm tree.
No, she's not gonna make it today.
Oh,
No, I hope she's
Yeah,
okay.
on my own. She's fine. She's fine.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll
I was
record
surprised.
everything so that you can catch up later. We'll miss
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, on the
Okay. Well,
last
let's get
lesson.
started.
you're recording, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to do that.
There's Matthew. Is he not coming today?
He's
No, he's
here.
there.
See here? How come I don't ever see him? There
He's
you
Hey,
waving
are.
at you.
Good to see you, Matthew. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay, everybody should see that.
mm-hmm.
Mhm. Acts 9, we're going to do verses 1 through 9, the Damascus Road. And the reason we're not doing the whole chapter in this is I want to spend some time on what's happening to Saul before he becomes Paul. And I wanted to spend some time before the chapter transitions back to Peter, who's dominant in the first half of Acts. The beginning of Acts, we find that Acts is mostly a Christian church that's primarily Jewish. And then in the second half of Acts, we find Paul going through his missionary journeys and it becoming more of a universal church. So that Paul increases, and you find that Peter uh, doesn't have as prominent a role in the second half of the book of Acts. But that's a lesson for a different day. So, Acts 9, verses 1 through 9. Then Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked letters for him to the synagogues of Damascus, so that if he found any who were of the way, interesting, of the way, he's referring to Christians and Christianity as the way. The term Christians won't be found later on, and that's in Antioch. So at this point in time, they're referring to Christianity as the way. Whether men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. As he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly a light shone around him from heaven. Then he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he said, Who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the goads.
Well,
So, so he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what do you want me to do? Then the Lord said to him, Arise and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." And the men who journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no one. Then Saul arose from the ground, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no one. But they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor drank. Points to ponder. Consider the depths of Saul's hatred for followers of Christ. He was there at the stoning of Stephen. He asked for papers and permission to go and extract people from synagogues in Damascus. He wanted to bind them, persecute them, and bring them to trial. He wanted to see them imprisoned or killed. Um, so the word "still" at the beginning of this section of scripture says a lot. So that he was still in that mindset before he encounters Christ. Um, Hate is a very strange thing, and you know, he just didn't dislike them. I mean, he was. What do you think?
Like like a vigilante or call it
Yeah.
a bounty hunter or something.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you get. I agree.
Think he was really confused and he thought what he was doing was right. That's what comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at that a little bit more here in our study. Who does Jesus say Saul is persecuting?
Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, that Saul. Jesus says that he's persecuting him. He's persecuting Jesus. And who does he think that he's persecuting? Who does Saul think he's going after?
All those that don't believe the way he does, and the
That's
way,
that's true,
yeah.
but he's after the people in the way. He's after the followers of
Oh,
Christ.
yes.
Essentially, he's after the church. But in going after the church, after the body, Jesus tells him that it's he who's being persecuted, that he's persecuting Jesus himself.
Is there
Does he?
any significance to the fact that he was blind for 3 days?
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Did he? Did he hear him audibly or
Yes.
in his? Yeah.
Okay. What is meant by kicking against the goads? Anybody use that idiom this week?
Not
Today,
recently.
this week, recently, this month?
Thought that might
It's not a common term in our culture.
thought that might be a Navy term or something.
No, it's an agricultural term,
Oh, okay.
sort of.
Okay.
And there we are, kicking against the goads.
Oh,
Kicking against the goads is a biblical idiom meaning to resist something that is ultimately beneficial or necessary, often with negative consequences for oneself. It is derived from the practice of using a goad, a pointed stick, to drive oxen in the fields. An ox kicking against the goads would only injure itself. In a broader sense, the phrase illustrates the futility and self-defeating nature of resisting divine guidance or the will of God. And this term is also used later on in Acts 26:14. Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? it is hard for you to kick against the goads.
Hmm.
So we see here the illustration of oxen plowing the field, and the person uh, who's guiding the plow has a pointed stick, the goad, and if the oxen try to back up and kick against it, they defeat themselves. So it's idiomatic, so that it's resisting something that ultimately is necessary and good for you, and you're fighting against something where it's a self-defeating outcome.
Was goads a Greek word kind of thing, or is it Roman? Where did that come from? Do you know, or not?
It's translated from a Koine Greek word,
Okay. Huh.
but it's a commonly understood, it's commonly understood in many languages. I'm sure that people that spoke Aramaic used to practice. It was a
Okay.
common practice in agriculture back in those days.
Okay.
Kind of like beating your head against the wall.
Well,
Something like that. Do you think that Jesus' answer to Saul's question was what he expected?
I don't think so.
What do you think Saul would have expected when he said, "Lord, would you have me do?"
that's a good question. Yeah, for the frame of mind he was in.
I mean, this is only speculative. We can't
Yeah.
say it with dogmatic certainty.
Okay.
I often wondered, just anecdotally, it's like, would he have expected a specific set of instructions?
Well, if he if
Like a
he
list of things to do?
Right.
if the
Yeah.
if he used the term Lord, what would be the next thing? I obey you, my Lord. I mean, that seems to come next right away.
Not
Um,
necessarily.
well,
Not necessarily, because you bring up a really good point.
he was,
He's referring to Jesus as Lord, but
mm,
his submission is, well, let me put it this way. Um, that the word Kyrie could have been something else other than the Lord.
oh,
Um, and so at first he doesn't recognize who Christ is until he's told.
oh,
And then he acknowledges, Lord, what would you have me do? And he's not given any specific instructions. He's told to go somewhere, and there he'll be instructed.
And he
So,
went will. Is that before he was blinded?
no, this is after he was blinded that he went
yeah.
Okay.
his
He,
way.
he
It
couldn't
started
see.
out as an ogre, and then all of a sudden, in that I don't know what the span of time was that he decided to agree with the Lord, but I guess after he blinded him, he had to
Yeah, after
believe
he got
something.
up off the ground, he was like blinded and all of this. And yeah, it's happening in very, very close order. That's something that happened one right after the other. So
Okay.
Jesus required obedience from Saul. Saul was divinely blinded for 3 days. Now, this is maybe getting into the area of Chris's question. But before we get there, does this seem atypical?
No,
Yeah. Well, to me, it might be atypical. I mean, this doesn't happen a
it happened.
lot,
No,
right? Um, so, I mean, this is
When
a
you
pretty.
think of when I say typical, it's not typical. in Latin and in Greek is a what they call a negative alpha.
Like a
Mhm.
non.
So that it's not typical. Does this seem not typical? Think of what is typical. Look at all the miracles that Jesus performed.
He
All the
healed.
divine, all the divine things that Jesus has done with his power. Doesn't it seem unusual for Jesus to make someone blind?
Yeah,
Don't
because
we
it's
usually think of Jesus as doing
yeah,
just the opposite?
yeah, it's the opposite. Yeah,
Uh, and 3 days is is the idea of 3 days. A lot of it has to do with it's in a way um, symbolic of the resurrection.
Right.
How many days did Jonah spend in the whale or in the large
Three.
fish?
Three.
3 days. Jesus in the death, burial, and resurrection, how long did he spend in the tomb? Three
right.
Four.
days. How long did Lazarus spend in the tomb?
Three,
No,
Seven.
4.
Four.
four.
Oh yeah, extra.
And on the fourth day, what happens to the body?
He was
It
stinking.
starts to decompose.
That's it. It starts to rot. It starts to become
Stinky.
corrupt. So,
So, so like a 3 day period is a pretty good period to start thinking about things, right? I mean, that's what I would say. You know, why
it
were you
doesn't tell,
blinded?
it doesn't tell us about the 3 days. It just tells us that it is. So we have
Okay,
to be careful not to draw too much out of it.
okay,
So that he was blinded for 3 days, and then that gave him some time to reflect, which we're going to find out later on as we go further into the chapter. Jesus gave Saul the truth about justification by faith on the Damascus Road, so that um, so basically he his faith was is that he encountered the resurrected Christ. Nothing more. He wasn't good. He didn't ask for anything special. He acknowledged Jesus as being Lord on the Damascus Road. He recognized him as being the Christ.
okay.
Up to this point, the gospel had not spread beyond the Jewish community. They were still meeting in synagogues, with the exception of the one Ethiopian. So at this point in time, it's important for us to remember in our understanding as we go through the book of Acts that this is still largely a Jewish movement, that it really hasn't reached out into the Gentile world. And that's an important frame of reference as we go through this, and it'll make more sense as we get further and further into the book of Acts. Consider how bold Saul was to persecute Christians, and now he's humbly led away by the hand like a child. Can you see that dramatic change? I mean, he
Yeah.
went from being a bold zealot out to kill and persecute Christians, and now he's completely dependent on someone else to lead him by the hand like a child.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing for his personality.
I mean, that had to knock the wind out of
Sales.
his sails.
Yeah,
I could only imagine what Saul was going through. I mean, Saul was a Pharisee. He had memorized whole entire scrolls of scripture. Um, he knew the scripture forward and back. He knew the Torah extensively. Um, and he had thought that Christ was not the real deal, and now all of a sudden he's come up and encountered Christ in a way that he can't deny. who Christ is.
Yeah.
He recognizes he's come face to face with the resurrection.
It
And
was
we
a transformative time
and
for
we've
him.
talked about this in many different settings from many different parts of the gospel. Um, if you read 1 Corinthians chapter 15, the resurrection is the linchpin. It's the center point. It's what it's which validates our Christian faith. If not for the resurrection, our faith would be in vain. The resurrection is the one thing that proves who Christ is. And now we have someone who is so hostile towards Christianity, and he comes across, he'll come through this transformation. Why? Because he met the resurrected Christ. I hate when this happens. Okay.
What happened? Did it freeze? Oh,
No, we're going to stop sharing and I'm going to end this and then we're going to pick up the second half because it's going to end in 5 minutes anyway.
yeah. Okay.
So I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Okay.